Hello, what's up? And another standard deck tech update. This time a result from the face-to-face games Tour Championships Cycle 2. It was posted in MTG Top 8 and I found this list. The number one deck after that, probably that's a very competitive event in which we have a familiar name in the form of Alexander Hayne. He's one of our previous Pro Tour champs and also a good seasoned player of the game. And he was piloting Esper Raffine, and that is today our main topic for discussion, in which we will discover what is stake for that deck. We can say that the Esper Raffine deck is quite an old archetype to compare as for the current one, but pretty sure what we can explore now with the addition of Phyrexia all will be one set has affected or somewhat become relevant in the deck and build of this archetype. So we're going to go with this list. This probably just having creatures, just only 2 instants and the rest are lands. So we can check here. The deck is for 32. I'm not pretty sure how it's built to be this. Okay, let me just check what we're gonna get back to you guys. So hello again. So we are checked the list and we are not really incorrect on this one. So that's basically 29 creatures, 3 instants and 28 lands. Quite unusual number for the land choice, despite it being an aggro deck. But since maybe because of the utility creatures and some of the channel lands are included here, maybe you can say that these are sort of the channel kind of combat tricks or other functions that you may need for this deck. And so we're going to explore each of the cards. We're going to start with Soul 1-drop here in the form of Scale Defector Might. So others saying about this function, except that it is the new version of a Mother of Runes because of its ability to have your creature control against toxic one and explode from that color of your choice, and until end turn it also can be blocked by that creatures of that color that was chosen. At the same time, activation would not really require you to go with white, except that you would have the option to pay 2 life instead of paying for the correction mana on this setup. And along with it, we have also 4 copies of Denic. This is basically just more of a good 2-drop here because its ability that can protect your cards graveyards that can be target of spells or abilities. At the same time, we can have this one as a Denic Price operation in the late game in the form of a Spirit Soldier, which is it also gives you the ability to have creature cards that are put into graveyards from anywhere gets you to get Investigate trigger. So it's also a good attacker per se because it becomes a 3/2 flyer in the setup, which in the late game can be a very good way to cast it for its disturb cost. So, but not really here for process. That's going to go with a good 2-drop for 2/3 and a lifelink, which is also very efficient against other aggro decks in the metagame. Now for another 2-drop, we have a 1-of copy of Ludovic Necrogenius. It's quite an unusual choice here, but its ability that it gets you to mill a card, and then you have this ability to pay X blue and black to exile X creature cards from your graveyard, and then transform Ludovic. So if you ever get to transform him, he becomes a Ludovic Subris. It is also a legendary creature zombie with a 4/4 power and toughness. As this creature transforms into Ludovic Subris, it becomes a copy of creature exiled. So any creature card exiled with it, it becomes a copy of this one, except that its name is Olag. Ludovic Subris is a 4/4 and also a legendary blue and black zombie creature, in addition to its other colors and types. So put up a number of summon counters on Olag equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it. So that's quite a long ability to discuss with, but still I have situations where you would need to exile your previously cast creatures that may have been placed in the graveyard and have Olag or Ludovic becomes a flip or transform into an Olag Ludovic Subris. Another 2-drop here is Ursula's Transform Grant. This goes also another recurring creature because its ability that it's not only a 3/1 but can be black. Can't black I mean, but its ability that costs 4 less if an opponent controls 4 or more than basic lands. So in this metagame, basically you would face similar mid-range decks in the form of other Esper decks, Blue Eye Control, or Grixis mid-range that has 4 or more than basic lands. So this means that your activation for Resurrection Smogrant would go only with 2 black. So that's basically easy. It can come back to the battlefield with a +1 counter on it. It becomes a 4-2, though it can't block in the process. You still have another attacker at your disposal. So that's basically, you can activate this ability at the end of your opponent's turn, and then you can have to Resurrect to attack now on your next turn. Now for the 4 drop, that is, 4 copies that was added, is 2 drop. This is Talia Garden Traven. No other restrictions asked for her ability that can have to tax out more of the non-creature spells your opponent's cast, and also a good 2/1 first strike at this ability that can survive champ blockers, and also can deal out any damage, or can protect you from any creature attackers with the 2 toughness because of her first strike ability. Now for the 3 drops, we have Adeline, Qatar. Nothing fancy here, except that she is the probable and the good 3 drop built in the Raffine deck. So aside from her, you can still have, of course, 4 copies of Raffine. Schemings here as more of the card draw ability, gets you to ward and flying. And of course, it becomes bigger for each creature that attacks, that you can connive equal to the number of attacking creatures. And another utility card here, the 3 drop, is Loran Third Path. It can destroy random table Dimmer Breaker with an announcement for your opponents, and probably Recurrent Blockbuster also, because of the that is an artifact. And in dark situations, you may have to have an extra draw here. You can have Loran tap to target each of your opponent draws you a card, but not really would it matter here, because Raffine is also your main engine in card drawing, and also filtering out your cards from your hand and putting out extra creatures from your graveyard. Now for the 4 drop, we have a long copy of Earth Resurrected for shenanigans of countering abilities and destroying creature or planeswalker, and 4 copies, of course, of Soldier Apocalypse. So basically the beast and the clock for this deck in the 4 drop category, because its ability to have your opponents lose life whenever you draw a card, and whenever you draw a card, you will gain 2 life. So very much good combo with Raffine's ability of the connive triggers. Now for the late game, we have a copy of On the Dawn Sky and 1 in the sideboard. So this is basically a good 5/4 vigilance flyer, but also can get you to gas for the ability when it dies. So that also depend on the situation we're in. You would have to choose which of the 2 would be very beneficial, depending on your board presence and what your opponents might have to play against. Now the only spot removal here in the deck is the 3 Go for the Throats. So that's basically including the semi-spot removal ability of that of Loran and Eartheye, which makes it a total of 5. But the good thing here is that you have a solid destroy or solid spot removal to destroying target non-artifact creature at a cost of only 2 mana. But for the fixing here, would not really matter and would not really be a problem, because of the ability that Esper colors. That means that only 3 colors are your main concern here, unlike the previous builds that they are going to up to 5 mana colors. That is quite a challenge to do the fixing. But here we also have 4 copies of Plaza of Heroes, which can do the part of adding mana of any color to cast a legendary spell, or add mana of any color among legendary permanents to control. So bonus again, you're gonna have target legendary creature you control hex when it's suitable at the end of turn, and so you're gonna have just at your disposal to pay 3 and exile this one to have those relevant creatures protected from any spot removals or mass removals. For the channel lands, why we have 28 lands at this build is that we can have multiple copies of Veganjo, which functions well as a tunnel, and because of the several legendary creatures you control, you can basically have this one discounted and up to 1. That's basically having this only 1 to cast. The same with the channel ability of that of Otawara, you can just bounce out or return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its source hand. And also for black, we have Takenuma Abandoned Mire, which also a channel ability to return a creature card or planeswalker from your graveyard to your hand. That's basically it for the mana fix. Also, we have in addition to that is some of the blue black or the fast lands that is new for Phyrexia OW1 in the form of Galactic Shores and the Seachrome Coast. We only have one Raffine Tower here to make sure that the first turn top land would not be really a problem. And for the sideboard, we have the sideboard set up here. You will notice we have Alexander has placed a lone island in the sideboard, with also the support of having your counter spells mana would open for the simple strokes of 2 copies and 1 copy of negate. Also for against aggro, you can have the option also of adding more cut downs in the build, which pretty much go against other legends deck. You can also deal with mono white soldiers or blue white soldiers, and also with mono red aggro, and even for mono black aggro kind of matchups. For probably for the control setup, aside from negates and the simple stroke, you can have 3 copies of Wedding Announcement as a support card to have your card effects, or have a threat in the form of 1/1 white human creature token, and can flip later on to Wedding Festivity, that's basically popping out your creatures as an anthem effect. And of course, for mid-range matchups, additional AO the Dawn Sky, but this temporary lockdown probably for aggro, and also for shenanigans with that of exiling cards such as the Anvil, that is, we can see for the black red sacrifice deck of the matchup. So that's pretty much basic. I see this record getting in first place. He has a total win of 10, I think 10 wins, 2 to 3 losses, I guess, and also only 1 draw. So that's a pretty much pretty impressive kind of the deck performance for this deck, with 28 lands and 29 creatures in 3 instants. For the mana curve is basically 2.5. That's going with 2 between 2 and 3 mana value in the color. Or color distribution is basically going with 10 blue, 17 black, and mostly white with 25. But the color fix here is pretty much even. Blue for 20, 21 black, and 23 white overall. So we also have 2 tokens here is used, and pretty much more efficient here is that the curve would pretty much go 1, 2, 3 punch in the form of this one, the Might, the Denic, and basically going with Raffine, or Might, Talia, and Raffine, and that's basically going to lock out your opponents because of this very strong openings in this deck. So I guess that's about it for this deck tech. I do hope you check more of your playtest. If you face the similar list in your daily grinds on MTG Arena or MTG Online, please let me know in the comments section how the deck has fared against your probably your brew or your other top tier decks that you are playing or grinding up for that setup. Again, thank you for watching, guys, and see you for the next deck tech video.